We couldn't wish for anything greater than rain, but certainly not right now. Um, we have quite a diverse group of people. I understand John, Harry Smith, Ermelo,
Yeah.
all over, even Natal. I think they'll die of the cold today. Yeah, well, that I learned from John is that if you do graze and you're moving an electric fence, rather move your electric fence after midday, because that's when your sugar content of your pasture is at its highest. Then move it too many times in the morning. So your animal performance will definitely be better when you move your electric fence after lunch.
Why I asked that, Dick, was because what we're seeing is amazing animal performance in the midwinter on fescue-based pastures, quite greater than I expected. For example, Andrew van Lingen, he's doing multiple lambing on his sheep, intensive rebreeding. And unless you have a high quality food the year round, you won't achieve it. Now he's got 6,000 ewes and he's very close to 12,000 lambs per year. He's averaging virtually two lambs per year. And I've seen this, and yesterday they phoned me. Took them a refractometer last week. They measured this green material, the short green material now at this time of the year, and they came up with a Brix reading of 14. Wow. Now, if you know that Coke measures 12, then you've got a pretty good idea of just how much sugar or energy is in that. That's why I was interested. We had horses, it's a picture I've published often. They had nothing but that fescue pasture in the winter, but their dung was as soft as a cow on good pasture. Well, it is foggaging, building up the bulk, and it is just quite amazing to see how well the animals do in it. And I'm actually excited. Really only discovered that in the last few years. But now Andrew's doing the measurements, and that's why she can do it.
Yeah.
You said that. I need to perhaps repeat it. If you know the frustration that I've experienced with the Hoopstadboere, they do the full year fallow. And they did the Albrecht system, and they're disappointed. But you can have Albrecht system without soil life, and you're just not going to perform. Mm-hmm. And I begged them. They got a moisture a meter to just do a trial with me and put wheat straw across the top. They said the rivers of water running up. But your remark here about there's plant having leaf area to keep them alive, but your leaf area is also keeping the ground covered. James Leslie, I was with him a couple of months ago, and he'd grown oats crop, like you do. I'm just explaining it to other people. You can expand on this, because you know the value of it. This oat crop had got to this height, and he was rotivating it in. And he said that his experience is it's a bit of a problem because those lands are sometimes too wet to plant potatoes in. They've stored so much moisture. So having a cover crop to keep moisture in is another factor, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you think it's the opposite. And I recall an experiment we did. Where's on Jock's Mole Farm? Where's old Xavier? Where's Xavier? Yeah, Friedel. Sorry, Friedel. Where's he? There he is, Friedel. He's part of that farming group. We did a trial with various legumes and lucerne. And we put the plots about the size of this table, but then we had 2 tables away the next plot because we wanted to move up and down with the tractor to keep the pathways clean. We planted it in March. There was virtually no rain end of March until September, which is our normal pattern. And we were looking at, and the Ceradella was really this height and beautifully green. And it was just stunning to see how it grown through this dry winter. Then my son bent down and he scratched in the soil in the pathway that had been kept bare. It was dry as a bone. And then he went into the Cerradella patch and he dug there and it was wet, which proved and it was the first time that I'd ever noticed something like that.
Now, if the weather allows us, we can look. We'll see that Marga and I were looking at exactly the same phenomenon the other day.
Yeah.
I've got a piece of land where we put in the crown vetch, I don't know how many years ago.
Yeah.
And it grew from a kilogram of crown vetch to actually cover, even in the drought. And then I sort of lost heart when it was dry and I disked in between. We couldn't get the planter in. It ran on top like concrete where I disked it. Where I hadn't done anything, the planter went in as if it had. So tillage kills soil life. There's no question on that.
Fantastic. What I'm saying to you, when you get up to 4% humus, humic acids and those things, there's enough probably in these soils. You correct me if you feel I'm wrong. But my feeling is that there's enough here that will respond to the correct mineralization. You will not need to add anything else. Because nature is so forgiving. It's amazing how it will recover, like earthworms. Do you know the story of Jack Hummon down at Heidelberg? Well, he decided to change his ways when he lost a huge area of his farm to the storms that caused such havoc in Lainsburg, to the town. The whole, that land like above there would all wash down into a dam like this, smaller, but it filled it completely with topsoil. The road was impassable. They had to bring the graders. You can imagine what loss. He said, if I go on like this, my kids will never have a farm. And against everybody laughed at him. You always become the joke of the district when you do something different.
Thank you.
The fact that I keep saying to the farmers, unless your neighbours are saying you are mad, you are not far enough ahead.
That's right.
It's absolutely true. Okay, so he went mad, and he went over to no-till, and he was mocked for so long, but now no-till is the standard for that area. Now those soils are a rainfall 300 millimeters of rainfall on a soil that's 200 millimeters deep onto rock. You ride past Heidelberg, you see those road cuttings, I'm sure you've seen it. You wonder how guys farm this. I'll tell you another incident. It's so full of stones that they have to have all the special planters. One farmer jokingly said to me, no, we don't carry these stones out of the land. We bring them in because that's what makes our crops grow. And he was right. Did you ever think what a fantastic mulch stones are? And that's only the penny dropped only a long time after. I went back to Jack many times. And that soil was so depleted of humus it had nothing. 10 years later, the earthworms appeared. Who would think that earthworms can proliferate at that rate? You put your hand in that soil, it's so soft that you come up with a handful of earthworms every time. You don't have to dig. It's so soft. And that's what the earthworms did. On that worse soil and that low rainfall, what did it? 5 years under Lucerne. And then he turned back to 5 years of cash crop on a no-till basis. So the whole process was rebuilding the humus, and it's absolute magic. And what happened then? He had a most distressing experience, like your contours, like this land up there. He found that in the middle of the contour, for the greater part of the contour, the wheat grew beautifully, it was lush. But when it came to setting ear, it produced what he called oulike aardkies. En die koring het homself bevange gegroei. And so 7 meters from the contour this way and 7 meters that way from the contour, the wheat grew a normal rate and it produced beautiful big ears. And they had all the experts, all these fertilizer guys, even the varsity people were there. Nobody could tell him what was going on. And he likes meditating. Somebody was talking about meditating in the bus. So he went onto the top of the kopje which overlooks the lands one Sunday morning, and he was meditating. And I personally believe he got divine insight. It clicked like that with him. He had maintaining a 60 kilogram nitrogen per hectare, which was standard. But as this humus had built up, it became excessive nitrogen for the wheat, and it overgrew itself. But there, you see why? Because he's got a spreader that spreads 14 meters. But they don't set it to spread 14 meters. They spread it at half rate, and they double up. So it does work out at the amount of nitrogen they require, but the contour is impossible, so they only gave it half the nitrogen for that 7 meters this side and 7 meters the other side of the contour. It was over-fertilizing with nitrogen that caused that havoc in his wheat. It's a fantastic story. Eh? And he changed the whole Western Cape. Nobody believed. They didn't even know what earthworms looked like. It was an extinct species. Where did they come from? Hey? Where did they come from? That's the amazing thing about nature. And another story, just it's a funny one that I'll tell you while I'm talking. Now I've got going. I was working with Natal guys, and we'd had a course and we'd spoken about earthworms, and they didn't even know what an earthworm looked like apparently. But then they had a fire, and they were all out with their tractors fighting the fire together, these group that had been to our forum. And they got out and they saw all these earthworm castings. That whole veld was just one massive earthworms, and they'd never even knew it was on their farms like that. And they were so excited, they were phoning, telling us, "Hey, did you see the earthworms? We've seen something we haven't seen for 20 years. Where's Greg? Greg?
Hello, John.
Oh, sorry, man. He's our official spokesman. He's been appointed as our public relations officer. And I'm going to ask him to say just a word of thanks to you guys. But before I do that, I'll give you a little chance to think, because I jumped on him now unfairly. But I would like you to say a little bit more about the 1 kilogram of, did you talk about it up there, kilogram of crown veg per hectare that you put in with everything. Yes. But the other thing I want you to speak a little bit about, because nobody, I think very few here even know what sheep's bonnet is, and why do you like it, and why are you reaping seed of it, and why are you including it?
Sheep's bonnet, well, we planted a 2 hectare block of sheep's bonnet, and it's probably been in for the best part of 20 odd years. And we reap from it. We don't graze it, but we add it to all our mixtures, and it's a herb. It actually improves the health of the animal, and it also grows a lot deeper. It's got a very deep root system, so it brings up the minerals. So we include it at the rate of about 1 or 2 kilograms a hectare. Hopefully we'll have a little bit now next season, but I don't know if it's available in this country, but it's certainly worth something. It smells a little bit like cucumber when you crush it.
Lovely in a salad.
Yeah.
It's known as salad bonnet.
Yeah.
But the truth is that I haven't done on sheep's bonnet, but on chicory. Yeah. Analyzed them. Yeah. They're much higher in minerals, especially the micronutrients, than the pastures. So it is a true herb, a rich. So die sout en peper van die weide.
Okay, as I'm here to learn from yesterday, I have seen so many things which are new to me, and I'm going to give the information to the people in Lesotho so that we can improve our lives. Thank you.
Like we've said on the tour, it's so nice that there are people who are happy to have an open book policy and share the knowledge, and for the better of the land and for the better of everybody.
I want to ask the man who said the least on this whole tour to tell us what he is taking home with him today from this farm. So please put the microphone in front of old Johan Retief there.
Well, I'm not a speaker, but this planter, that will revolutionize my farming.
For me, this looks more like our kind of land. It's not as flat as yesterday's. So the way that we can do the strip grazing with our cattle, I learned that here.
You know, because I was speaking to guys at Nampo too, and they were saying, you know, South African young farmers have to be, you know, you got to make a plan, because we don't get support from government and all the rest and subsidies like they do overseas. And I think that's where it's important that we also set up forums that we can actually share information.
Big time.
You know, because it's always a situation of you keep reinventing the wheel and you go and speak to a guy somewhere else and he says, oh, I've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
The excitement of learning a new knowledge and new practices. And I just have to live another 25 years.
That's all easy. We're going to feed your sheep to the net.